Cool stuff. Ink. Get it? It's ink from a pen. Who writes this? Go to coolstuffinc.com, links in the description, and use code CIMO for 5% off. Rarin. Guess what, buddy? We had an emergency ban list for Yu-Gi-Oh! Can you believe that? Does that happen in Hearthstone ever?
Other than Demon Hunter, no. No. Can you explain why they would need one? Is just new cards came out and they were disgusting, or was it?
An emergency ban list is not something that Yu-Gi-Oh! Gets particularly often. I can only think of like a couple instances where they've had to institute something like this. Typically, how it worked was before we would get ban lists in like cycles that were predictable. So at one point it was like every 6 months. I think this is when the game like first came out, keep in mind. And then it went to like every 3 months, and then people were complaining a lot. So then they just like took away when they were going to give us ban lists altogether. But recently we just had a tournament, and the finals of the tournament went something like this. Turn 1, the player went first, did their thing, and then the other person conceded. Game 2, the other person went first, did their thing, the other person conceded. Game 3, the other person went first, did their thing, and the final person tried to play it out because there was no point not to, and then lost anyway. So fun, awesome Yu-Gi-Oh! Woo! Isn't that great? Isn't our game awesome?
Oh, yeah. Love it.
As a result of that, we got an emergency ban list because we actually had just gotten a ban list for our game not too long prior to this. And so this kind of came out of nowhere. No one was really expecting this, although with all the stuff going on. The problem is Yu-Gi-Oh! We're sort of in this issue where people, like, Konami will hit a bunch of, like, really powerful cards. Then people find the next most degenerate thing to do. Then Konami has to hit that. So we're kind of just playing, you know, catch up, trying to ban all these like cards, whether they're old or new, to figure out if they're a problem or not. And so that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to be showing you cards that are on this ban list, and also some bait here and there, but stuff that is still equally as degenerate. And your goal is to figure out if, 1, you think the card is good, 2, if you think it's degenerate, and 3, most importantly, if this was a card that got hit on this most recent ban list.
Okay. How many cards were emergency banned?
I'm not going to tell you, because otherwise then you could start counting. Nice try, though. Nice try. Here is your first card.
Have I seen this card before? Why does it seem familiar? Maybe I have. Arch Nemesis Protos. Copy normal summon / set. It's been a while since I've read a Yu-Gi-Oh card, so just let me dilate. Let me warm up a little bit here. Cannot be normal summon / set. Must first be special summoned from your hand by banishing 3 monsters with different attributes from your graveyard and or face-up field. Not be destroyed by card effects. You can declare 1 monster attribute on the field. Destroy all monsters on the field with that attribute. Also, until the end of the next turn, neither player can special summon monsters with that attribute. You can only use this effect of Protoss once per turn. Okay, hold on. Why do I feel like I used this card?
Maybe you did.
When I was playing Sword.
The Sword Souls are worms.
I feel like the deck I had ran this card, because I feel like I shut someone out from playing. This card was good if I got it out, but I feel like it was so, like, it was like the last step I wanted to do, if this is the card I'm thinking of. I'd rather set up Baron, but Baron I know is banned now, so you can't do Baron. I forget what the other cards got. You know how long it's been since I've played that? Oh my god, what happened to time? Jesus Christ. Okay. This card was really good for if you knew what your opponent was playing and you could play this and shut your opponent out completely. Like, it was probably just game ending. If you're telling me the opponent played their first turn and then the opponent just kind of conceded because they couldn't play the game anymore, was it purely from an effect like this? That is a very real possibility. The effect to get this on board also isn't that difficult, considering you could just throw a bunch of cards in your graveyard and then just use them to get this out turn 1. Would you say that you're likely to play this card first turn, going first?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That is not difficult in the slightest.
Okay, what about getting this card in your hand?
That's also not difficult in the slightest.
Okay, so warping effect that stops your opponent from playing the game if you understand what deck they're playing. Remind me, in Yu-Gi-Oh, it is open deckless for competitive?
No, it is not. However, it is not difficult, let's say, when you're in the top cut of a tournament, to figure out what the people in the top 32, top 64, top 16, top 8, whatever, are playing. Because if you win your round,
you can't change your deck.
If you can't change your deck, but if you win your round early, you can just walk around and look at everyone else and see what they're playing. So that is totally allowed. There's you can't really stop people from doing that, you know. Not to mention, you just might know those people from the circles of people you hang out with. So you might just know, or your friend tells you like, oh, so-and-so's playing whatever deck. So it's not like, or you could just assume if there's only 1 or 2 or 3 good decks in the meta, and all of them, let's say, are mono attribute, it's not like unrealistic to figure out, oh, okay, you know, they're like, call this attribute. It's like pretty likely this will work. If you have absolutely no idea, if everything else I just said before did not like work in your favor.
Okay, so you're basically saying as long as you get past round 1, you have a very good idea of what's in the field.
Like this more applies to like top cut more than anything, because there's like only a finite number of people. But again, especially even like after at least after game 1, right? Because we play best of 3, you're gonna know in games 2 and 3 guaranteed what to call with Protos.
Wait, so remind me in Yu-Gi-Oh, when you win, let's say, okay, so you play your best of 3. Yep. I flip the coin. I get to go first.
Yep.
My opponent gets to choose the next game, whether or not they want to go first or second.
Correct. If you won, they get to choose whether or not they want to go first or second. If they won, you choose if you want to go first or second. Correct.
And you've shown me so many cards that shut off games, and they're pretty gross.
You're gonna be seeing a few of those today. That's for sure.
Is this the worst example of that? Which this is only an attribute, which is obviously still very good.
There are only 6 attributes for context.
Yeah,
technically 7, but we don't count the 7th one.
Like you said before, like you would probably know what attributes being played in a particular deck. So it's not really like 1 out of 6. It's more like almost guaranteed depending on what their density of minions is like, or monsters are like. So
like if there's only 2 or 3 decks in the meta, right, that are like good, then it's like, okay, are they on fire? Are they on dark? Or are they on water? I'm just making this up. Right. So now it's like, you know, if you have to go blind, you're not calling, you know, wind, light, or earth. So it's really, if you absolutely have to go blind, it's only a 1 in 3. Not to mention, if you know that there are other super popular cards in the format that all decks are playing, because remember, we have the extra deck, you can just call the attribute of the card you do not want them summoning in the slightest, so then they just don't do it.
And I feel like, okay, if this card was in the game for, like, if this is the card I'm thinking about, why would they ban it now is the question. There must be something along those lines that just made it so consistent. So then that begs the question of, is this the problem, or is it something new that they added to the game that actually is the problem? It's the conversation of, is the card broken, or is the mana cheating the problem? And often it ends up being the mana cheating. So I'm going to assume this is the card I played with, and I'm going to assume that this card is not banned because something else would be banned instead. Wait. This is Konami. Konami wants good stuff to get played.
Okay.
They want to sell the packs. Okay, this card's banned. This card's banned. They would rather have the new card be playable than the thing that broke it.
So I remember we're going based off which cards were just hit on the most recent ban list. So just for context, Protos was banned. And then for whatever reason that people do not know, I say it was banned. It was banned on a previous ban list. For reasons that are unbeknownst to all of us, they brought Protos back. We don't know why. This card is so unfun to play against. It channels everything you hate about, like, you know, uninteractive Yu-Gi-Oh! Especially if they're trying to take a stance to, like, start getting these cards out of the game. Why the fuck did they bring this back? Who knows? But they brought it back and it was legal again. Until they had to re-ban it on this most recent ban list. You got it correct. Congratulations.
Okay.
It was only legal again for like a couple months, or like maybe 6 months at most, I think. People are just like baffled. People knew they were going to re-ban this card because this card is so toxic. It's awful. Hopefully it never comes back and they learn their lesson this time.
Was this the card I played during... I guess you can't guarantee it. It just seems so familiar. Was it available last year?
Pretty sure. I gotta be honest, I'd have to go back and watch your stuff again because I don't remember if you did play this or not.
That's fine.
I mean, there's a chance you could have, because based off the deck you were playing, it's not unlikely. But I'll look while you're evaluating the next one. So good job, you're on the board. Okay, here is your next one.
Triple Tactics Talent. Your opponent has activated a monster effect during your main phase this turn. Activate one of these effects. Draw 2 cards. You control 1 monster your opponent controls until the end of the phase. Wow, one of those seems so much better than the other one. Look at your opponent's hand and choose 1 card from it to shuffle into their deck. Wow, all of these are nuts. What the frick?
So if you want some lore behind this card, this is actually 3 banned cards on 1. Each of these individual effects, because draw 2 cards, it's pot of greed, right?
Yeah, but
the other
why
2
would
effects
they make it into one?
The other 2 effects are also cards that were banned. So yeah, they decide it's you get to have all 3 in one. It's crazy, right?
Great design. Yeah, love that design.
It's awesome, isn't it? You were playing Protos in your Sword Soul deck, by the way. I did check.
Okay.
Yep.
Your opponent has activated a monster effect during your main phase this turn. Activate one of these effects. Okay, drawing 2 cards is good. Control of 1 monster your opponent controls is also great. And looking at your opponent's hand and choose 1 card from it, shuffle in their deck is also good from what I learned from Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't know if it carries as much as it does in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! As it did in previous or older Yu-Gi-Oh! Formats, but worst case scenario, if that is the worst one, you just don't pick it unless you absolutely. But why would you want to pick that over anything else?
You want some help?
Well, I was gonna say, remind me whether or not you could use this on your opponent's turn.
You cannot. This is a normal spell, which is a sorcery speed, or as we call spell speed 1 effect. So you'd have to use this only during your turn.
Oh, okay, so so your opponent has a chance to interact with this card before the effect goes off.
Yep. So to answer your question, you're asking about looking at your opponent's hand. Why would you care? Think of it this way, right? Let's say you start doing a play, right? And let's say your opponent hand traps you, right? They've activated a monster effect this turn, so now you can activate Triple Tactics Talent. You can now look at their hand, and not only do you get to pick the best card from their hand to shuffle back into the deck, you now know if they have any other hand traps to interact with you, right?
Oh, so I guess you saw their hand, yeah.
Right, so you get the hand knowledge. So now you know that if you continue your combo or doing whatever it is that your deck is trying to do, you know that everything's going to resolve because your opponent doesn't have any more interaction to play against you.
Yeah, I mean, that's still, is that, I guess that, basically what I'm asking, is that better than actually just drawing 2 cards of your own deck or taking control of 1 monster? I guess they don't always have a monster and you don't always need more cards. So I guess all effects are just equally good depending on the context.
Yeah, I will say it really depends on the context, which of these effects you're trying to do. Maybe depending on your hand, maybe you need to draw more cards to get more gas to continue your combo. Maybe you need to look at your opponent's hand to make sure they don't have anything else to finish. Maybe you have everything you need, so you just want to make sure your combo will go through. Or maybe you want to take their best monster because you can do something with it that's going to help just put you in a winning position, right? It really is contextual based off of what's happening.
Okay, so I think this card is obviously good, but the question
would this be good in Hearthstone? Just out of curiosity.
Your opponent's activate a monster effect during your main phase. The question is
okay,
how
that part I don't know how that would work. Let's just say ignore the first part. Would you play a card that lets you either draw 2, mind control something your opponent has, or okay, all right.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just asking.
Not for drawing, not even looking at my opponent's hand. You're picking the second option every time.
Interesting.
That is,
okay, I'm curious.
There's a card called Grifta from basically last year. And what it is it discovers 6 possible amulets, and there are 2 amulets you always want to hit.
Oh, we played this in the Rumble. I remember this.
Yeah. One of them is taking control of your opponent's minion. That is maybe the best one you can get. And also the way it interacts in Hearthstone, which I'm assuming it works in Yu-Gi-Oh! The exact same way, is that you can attack with it because it doesn't have summoning sickness. So that means not only are you stealing your opponent's minions, but you're dealing the damage to something else and or their face. For Yu-Gi-Oh! It's I'm assuming you get to use the activation of the monster, but it also gets to attack as long as it's not the first turn, which this won't work. I'm going to just go with this card's probably very good in this game. You probably want to run. Was this printed this year?
This card was printed 2020.
Have you shown me this card before? I'm trying to think of if you have it, maybe you have though.
We've done a lot of these, so I mean, there could be some repeats in here.
It's actually just so funny. We're just talking about this 20 minutes ago. I mean, good card. Okay, so if you're okay, but I gotta think of it how you described it. So you said to me that going first, your opponent was playing the game, you saw what they were able to do, and then you just conceded. The problem with this card is that you have to play this going second, and your opponent has to activate a monster effect on your turn. So not only are you waiting for your opponent to do something, you also have to go second. That makes me think that this is not a bannable card, because if this card was actually really good, it would help mitigate the biggest problem that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has, which is maybe going second.
Well, remember, hand traps, right? So if I'm going first, I'm doing a thing, and then my opponent hand traps me, then I can triple tack them on going first.
Okay, that's fair.
So it's almost like a punish. It's like, oh, you hand trapped me. Now I get to use this insanely broken card to like punish you for hand trapping me.
Listen, I don't know how the gamers are going to feel about this, but I actually think that's probably important to have in your game.
Okay, that's fine. I'm pointing because you said, oh, this is like only good going second. I want to just point it out. This card's also very good going first.
I feel like if your problem with your game is that going second means you auto lose, you need a card like this to help mitigate that problem.
Okay.
So as much as it could be extremely toxic, like this is almost like Maxi, right? Like it's just good. If you have it in your opening hand, it's insane. But again, you kind of need those cards to stop your opponent from just doing whatever the hell they want, because you can't really stop them from doing it going second, as far as I'm aware. And if the format, like you said, just was like if you go second, you lose, then like a card like this is kind of necessary. Otherwise, you're just only putting yourself further behind. Okay. Now, is that good game design? I mean, let me tell you something. Yu-Gi-Oh's game design. So, probably I'm gonna go with not banned, just for the sake of the fact that they think it's necessary to have in the game if that's their biggest problem.
And you'd be correct. This card did not get hit.
Woohoo!
You're on a good streak. So
nice.
This card, there's some hot discussion around this card because, like I said, just purely from a going second perspective, this is a very good way to keep you in the game, right? It lets you possibly draw more cards to play going second. It lets you disrupt your opponent's board. Notably, it doesn't target, which is very important. So you can't just be like, oh, I'm going to activate this, target something, then your opponent responds to like do it. They have to figure out like what you're going to try to take or like fire off any effects beforehand. Otherwise, they might just lose the thing, right? So that's very good. And then also looking at your opponent's hand, that effect typically is like if you're going first, but also going second, it's not the worst thing. I mean, but for the most part, that's more of like a going first effect, I would say. But going first, triple tactics is very frustrating because it's like, okay, I'm doing the thing. My opponent has a card to interact with me to stop me from doing the thing. And now all of a sudden you turn on this very powerful enabler that lets you either just draw more cards to either or look at their hand and get rid of even more interaction, right? So it's like one hand trap's gone. Oh, I get to look at your hand and get rid of another hand trap, and now I know I can go full combo, and now I know you can't stop me and do anything about it. Not to mention, you can basically set up your board in such a way to play around everything else they have in hand so that when they do take their turn, now you're just prepared for everything except the one card that they draw for turn. So kind of a frustrating card in that respect, but it can be played around. Notably, it says during the main phase. So hypothetically, you could just not use your monster effects until like the battle phase, or you fire them off in the standby phase because our game has phases on like Hearthstone, right? So you could try to like play around this card strategically if your cards let you. We also still have like quick play spells and trap cards that could be used on the opponent's turn. So if your deck does incorporate those in some way, you don't use monster effects and try to let your spells and traps do things. So that way you don't play into your opponent playing this card. So there's like a degree of counterplay. But to be fair, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a very monster effect centric game. So sometimes you don't really have a choice. And so it really feels bad when it's like, oh good, I stopped them from doing the thing. And then they just play talents and just like look at your hand and now it's like you're just fucked anyway. So, it's a card that people, it's good for the game, but also there's like a fine line to it, if that makes sense. Because there are some like degenerate applications for this card as well. But
it's a fine line for sure.
But I think a lot of people like this card just because, like I said, it embodies 3 banned cards. So that's really cool. So like flavor-wise, they hit it out of the park with that. But 2 for 2. Look at you. Maybe you are learning something about Yu-Gi-Oh! Let's see if you can continue the streak.
Different dimension ground. This turn, any monster sent to the graveyard is banished. All right.
This is a very classic card. This is a very classic card.
It's been in the game for a while?
Yeah, different. DDG is 2010. Yeah, 2010.
I don't know if you've shown me this card.
I don't think I have.
You told me the tournament again. Going first, the opponent concedes on going second. I don't know if you actually said this. Konami saw the tournament and had an emergency ban list because of how the tournament went.
We can infer because they don't tell us, right? They don't come out and say, oh, as a result of this tournament, here's a ban list. It basically came out the Monday after the tournament took place. Was it even the Monday? It may not. I think it was even sooner than. I don't remember exactly how. But it was almost immediately after this tournament took place, right? And so they also just gave us a ban list not long prior to this. And so the fact that there was 2 ban lists in such a short period of time is very rare. So again, they don't call it an emergency ban list, but especially because of the types of plays that were being exhibited during this time, and not even just in the tournament, but just like generally a lot of the strategies, they felt that something had to be done. We assume.
Okay.
We assume.
Okay. Okay. We assume.
It's all speculative. It's all speculative.
So if I'm going to assume Konami is basing this off the tournament result, this card is even better going first than it is going second. You play this, you pass over, your opponent needs cards in the graveyard, you flip this, and then they just can't do anything, which is kind of like probably where this is going.
Yep, sounds about right.
Going second, this card is useless because you need to go back to your opponent's turn. So it's like you can't really think about this going second whatsoever, which means going first is even more of an advantage. It's also really good going first because you basically deny your opponent from doing anything. Well, depending on what their deck was. It seems like a lot of decks currently require the graveyard as some kind of resource, which seems to be obviously over Yu-Gi-Oh's life cycle, but it's probably even more important now. Pretty good going first. Is it bad enough that they would have to ban a card like this? I would think that they would want this card to be used defensively, not offensively. But I mean, if you're going first, it's almost so it's being used as an aggressive thing to stop your opponent from even playing the game even further, which actually sounds miserable. Holy, hey, I didn't lose the first turn. I can't wait to play my turn. Oh. Okay, yeah. So that makes me believe that this card is very, very aggressive and very, very toxic to play against. People, you were saying how people don't like tactics, but at least tactics has some kind of, you can kind of play forward, you can play around it in a sense. There's at least a little bit of a cat and mouse decision, but like in Hearthstone, this isn't that bad because we don't use the graveyard. So I can't even compare it to anything in Hearthstone. I think it's bad enough they would be willing to ban a card like this, because then they could like, they can make another version of it that's like any monster with this attribute, or choose an attribute, any monster with that attribute is banished instead. So they can at least change this slightly. This is a card that probably does get better with time as well. I don't know. This one's really tough. It's so hit and miss whether or not they want to ban a card like this. I feel it feels weird to say yeah, because I feel like the intention of this card is so different, but like intention doesn't matter if it's just fucking broken to begin with. So sure, let's go with banned. I can see it being banned. Going first, it's pretty egregious to play against.
Sure.
Right, if you're going second, it's very egregious.
So, Different Dimension Ground, like I said, it's a very old card. And throughout Yu-Gi-Oh's history, it's seen some play here and there. In older Yu-Gi-Oh, it wasn't as egregious because older Yu-Gi-Oh was slower, right? It wasn't very much that you win immediately on the first turn. There was some back and forth. And so, if you had this to sort of like stifle your opponent for a turn, it could be annoying, sure, but it wasn't necessarily like game-winning. Unfortunately, as Yu-Gi-Oh has evolved, it's only gotten worse and worse, and because the turn count has been reduced, a card like this becomes, like, inadvertently more and more powerful. So how this card is typically used is, remember, we play best 2 out of 3, and we have a side deck. So hypothetically, you would have this card in your side deck. When you know for a fact you're going to go first, after, let's say, you win or lost, you know, the first game or whatever, you bring this card in, and then going first, you do your whole thing. Even if you get interrupted by your opponent, okay, cool. Set Different Dimension Ground in the background. Your opponent starts their turn. You just flip this, and they just can't play the game because most decks rely on the graveyard. So it becomes just this auto win because then it's like a turn skip, and it's like, okay, I pass the turn, and then you just kill your opponent next turn because even though you need to finish comboing on your first turn. So people hate this card and want it banned too, but it's still legal.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yep.
I know that was a toss-up for sure.
And so this is the problem, right? Because they're just playing this one big game of whack-a-mole of like, okay, here's all these cards that need to get banned, right? And then like more cards come out of the woodwork, and it's like, okay, we need to ban these cards, right? And it just it doesn't end. You know, there's a whole laundry list of things that are equally as toxic as this, and you'll see that by the end of this video how far it goes. So I don't envy their position here. But yeah, it's just it's frustrating because they're just always playing this whack-a-mole game.
I don't know how they solve it either, and just I'm sure even the community doesn't know even how to solve it. It's kind of a hole too deep. It's
definitely we're definitely seeing the cracks in what a 25-year-old game can look like. But I mean they're trying to remedy it, and it's interesting because in the new Genesis format, they basically put all of these degenerate cards at a point value that you're basically never going to play them because they cost like 100 points and you're only allowed 100 points in your deck. So that format like sort of solved the issue of all these Floodgate type of cards, but it's kind of frustrating that the actual game is not following suit. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird.
Yeah, like you said, that's just kind of the problem of what Yu-Gi-Oh's become, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's not really an answer to that problem. Maybe they make a standard rotation for the first time in their life.
Oh, don't say rotation. People, Yu-Gi-Oh players in rotation. God forbid.
Wait, is that bad? Is that
yeah, it is heresy because that's like we're like the only game that doesn't do set rotations. So yeah,
you should have filmed this on Halloween.
Ooh, we should have.
Could have spooked some people. Is this pronounced Moljnir?
Mjolnir.
Is this Moljnir? Okay. Artifact Moljnir. Okay, let's look. Okay. Set this card from your hand. I've never seen this card before either.
You've definitely
set this card from your hand. You can set this card from your hand to your spell and trap zone as a spell. During your opponent's turn, if this is set in the spell and trap zone, if this set card in the spell and trap zone is destroyed and sent to your graveyard, special summon it. If this card is special summoned during your opponent's turn, target one artifact monster in your graveyard. Special summon it in defense position. Also, you cannot special summon monsters until the end of the next turn, except artifact monsters. You can only use this effect of Artifact Moljnir once per turn. You can set this card from your hand to your spell trap zone as a spell during your opponent's turn. This is set in the spell and trap zone, is destroyed and sent to your graveyard, special summon it. This is special summon during your opponent's turn. Target one artifact. Okay, so you're using this. I'm just trying to figure out why you're using this. You're using this as a way to special summon an artifact monster from your graveyard. That seems to be the only reason you're playing this.
Read the line after that.
Special summon in defense position. Also, you cannot special summon monsters until the end of your next turn except artifact monsters. You can only use this effect, Artifact Moljnir, once per turn. This card is a special summon during your opponent's turn. Target one artifact monster in your graveyard. Special summon in defense position. Also, you cannot special summon monsters until the end. Is that like you cannot, meaning like you as a player or like them?
If it's on your field, it is you. If it's on your opponent's field, it's them.
Oh, can you set this on your opponent's side?
Interesting. Why don't you give this card a read?
Okay, I was like, why am I playing this? Like, thanks for saying that. What the fuck is this? Imperial Princess Quinquery? You can detach one material from this card, then target one level 5 monster. Let me go back. That is a level 5 monster. In either graveyard, special summon it to either field. If a face-up level 5
You don't have to read the rest. You don't have to read the rest. I'll save you.
Okay, so you're basically playing this card to stop your opponent from playing the game because they probably don't have artifact monsters that they're using, because I'm assuming that the deck's just not playable. As long as you can put this to your opponent's side, you are basically skipping their turn. Is that a real, like, is that better than just playing Dimension Ground? I guess this is better going second because you can use this on your opponent's first turn. Can I use Quinquery going second if my opponent is still playing their first turn is the question.
No, it is not a quick effect.
Okay, so this is just arguable.
Read Mjolnir, the last line again.
Right, like they can't wait. Special summon in defense position. Also, you cannot special summon monsters till the end of the next turn.
End of the next turn. There you go.
So that's 2 turns you're skipping.
Theoretically, yeah.
But again, isn't this just worse going second? Like, don't you just, this is just more proof that going first is better. You stop your opponent from playing the game even more, but it's not just 1 turn, it's 2 turns. So like Dimension Ground is 1 turn, but now you're skipping 2 turns for your opponent. And you have Quinquery still on the board.
Yeah, I mean, granted, they're not typically special summoning. If you go first, they're not really, your opponent's not really going to special summon during your first turn. They can, it's not unlikely, but for the most part, they're not. They're going to be using, like, you know, hand traps and things to slow you down. Maybe not necessarily special summoning. Or if they do, it's very limited in what they're actually summoning to the board.
Well, okay. Let me just remember. End of next turn means your opponent's next turn?
Right.
Or
So,
is it the end of your...
if you go Quinquery and you put Mjolnir to their field, that not only can they not special summon during your turn 1, when you pass the turn to them, they also can't special summon on their turn. When it comes back around to you, they can special summon again.
Sorry, I was thinking that would skip 2 of their turns rather than
no,
one.
Just one of their turns. Just one of their turns.
So you're skipping theoretically, like, if they special summon something on your turn and you're skipping their turn. I mean, again, like, that's still fine, but it's like the same. It almost feels like it's the same world as Dimension Ground.
Okay.
And if Dimension Ground's not, Dimension Ground also seems easier to do because you just need this. Well, depends on how consistently you can get this out and how much resources it actually takes. And I'm sure maybe Quinquery has other use cases. Quinquery seems like a pretty interesting card. Base of level 5 monsters that you control is destroyed. I know you said don't read it, but I'm curious. By battle or leaves the field by an opponent's card effect while you control this monster, you can add to your hand or special summon 1 level 5 monster from your deck. Like, that just seems good. Only use 1 of each effect for once per turn. So, like, I mean, if you're going for this angle, at least you still have that on board. Again, I don't know how relevant that really is, but that's actually kind of interesting. I just don't know if this is a bannable effect. I'm sure maybe it is, though, because, okay, I'm going second. My opponent, like special summoning, that includes what, Max E?
Well, they don't
probably
summon
Max E.
Max C to use the effect. They just discard it to the graveyard.
Okay.
That's most hand traps. Most hand traps, you discard them to the graveyard to use the effect.
So would you say that this is generally useful, like to protect yourself if I was going first? Or am I just playing this to stop my opponent from like
You're using this to stop your opponent from playing the game.
Man, I wish you didn't show me Dimension Ground. I really look at it and go, I think Dimension Ground is better.
Maybe I picked the order intentionally. Who knows?
But the argument for Moljnir is that you would be able to do this with theoretically a board set up. So if your opponent did try to stop you, you could stop them.
Sure.
Where Dimension Ground's like, you need to play it, hope your opponent doesn't have a response. And then also you have to hope that it can actually resolve the following turn. So you're preemptively putting your opponent in a worse spot. So in that reason, maybe it's better than Dimension Ground. It doesn't seem like it's a lot of resources, which is maybe the more important thing. Would you say that it's easy to get Moljnir out first turn?
Oh yeah, you can easily do this first turn.
This
is what I mean. This is the people. This is the shit people come up with.
I mean, it's creative for sure. Is that worse than Dimension Ground? I get. So if I'm gonna ban something,
okay,
I'm not banning Quinquery for this. I would be banning Moljnir because of its effects.
Quinquery's not for consideration here.
Then the question ends up being, is this the only reason Moljnir is played? Probably. So then is that card bannable because you just don't want that to that's not how you want it to interact in the game? Why the fuck would you make a card like this if that's not how you wanted to interact? I guess they just don't see the future. I don't know. I mean, again, I think it's really on par with Dimension Ground. Like it's pretty negligible, the difference between them. I guess, again, the only real difference is that you're preemptively setting this up and it's easier to defend if you have the whole board set up on your side. So in that case, I guess it's slightly better than Dimension Ground. So then if Dimension Ground is really good and they haven't banned it, Moljnir is like the next step up. That passed the threshold, maybe. I guess I'll say it's banned just to see where it's at. I can go either way on this one as well, but it's probably better than Ground, so I'll say banned.
You're doing pretty good because it is banned. They did ban Moljnir. So one thing that I'll teach you and you'll forget as soon as this video is over is that it is very easy to do a monster-based combo instead of just flipping different Dimension Ground. Because with Dimension Ground, there's very few cards that can search a card like Dimension Ground. So you're kind of hoping that in your opening hand, you just draw it. And then again, if your opponent like stops you or whatever, or you go full combo, you just set different Dimension Ground behind it and just ensure you win the game. Quinquery, as well as Moljnir, you can play Quinquery in the extra deck, right? So you always have access to that. So basically, as long as you can do whatever the combo you're trying to set up to get Moljnir engraved, Quinquery, summon it to your opponent's field. What's very important about Moljnir is that it's a mandatory effect. So it says, if this card is special summoned during your opponent's turn, it says target one artifact, blah, 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 blah. If it was optional, it would say you can target one artifact monster, blah, 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 blah. And so because it's mandatory, it has to activate when it hits the opponent's field, locking them under the restriction that they can only special summon artifacts. If it was optional, this would not work. That's the only reason this does. You're able to do this very consistently and not just hope that you draw it compared to something like different Dimension Ground. For context, Moljnir was released in 2018. Quinquery wasn't released until 2023. So this is something that came up, relatively recently because of just the fact that they released a newer card that happened to interact with a type of card like this. And this is another one of the interactions that people have discovered, and they're like, okay, we don't want to have this in the game anymore, so they banned Moljnir. So you are correct.
All right.
Still with us?
I'm still with you.
Okay, just making sure. You're doing pretty good. You're doing pretty good.
Thank you. Konami, if you need help, I'm here for you.
You know this card.
I know this card. Called by the Grave. Target one monster in your opponent's graveyard, banish it, and if you do, until the end of the next turn, its effects are negated, as well as the activated effects and the effects of the field of the monsters with the same original name. Card was good when I played with it. Why would I want to ban it?
Was it finally its time?
Target one monster in your opponent's graveyard, banish it. So this was what? A response to... I'm trying to remember how I used this. I've responded with Max E with this, or was it Ash?
This was a counter. This is theoretically a counter to hand traps, because like I said, you have to discard hand traps to the graveyard for the most part for them to activate their effects. And so on the chain, you discard them for cost. So Call by the Grave can then be activated as Chain Link 2. You target the hand trap, you banish it, and now the effects are negated. So no Maxi, no Ash, nothing.
If I'm thinking about it from an argument of the player going first doesn't have a huge advantage, this card is actually really beneficial for the game. You would rather have a card that interacts with this to deny your opponent from having a hand trap than not. The problem ends up being is that you reinforce the concept that going first is so much better than going second. Because if the only way your opponent can respond to you is through a hand trap and you have this card, and like they don't have another hand trap or they don't have any other thing to do, like they are just sitting there and watching the game probably like lose in front of them. So that's kind of shit. Called by the Grave it was a very good card when I played with it. Did I ever feel like it was disgusting? No, but I'm also not playing at a high level. Is there a way to consistently draw this card? Or are you just hoping it hits your hand?
It's similar to different Dimension Ground. You're kind of just hoping this is in your hand. And this basically, like you said, insulates you from a hand trap.
So you're the way I'm just trying to get full context here. You're just running 3 copies and you just hope this hits your hand. Like that's it. Or you drawing
the maximum legal amount of copies, yes. If you're playing a combo deck.
It's not okay, so it's not, is it 3 or is it 1? Like, I guess the argument for this is because you guys do have the option of just kind of lowering the amount of cards you can put into your deck. This card at 1 doesn't seem that horrible to have in your game.
Okay.
The idea of I'm gonna slot this in to try to just get this in my opening hand to just pop off feels like it kind of satisfies that like Yu-Gi-Oh fantasy of just like I'm gonna do the best turn of my life, right?
Oh, it satisfies a fantasy, all right, that's for sure.
Now, does it completely destroy your opponent's world? Yeah, but I mean that's what card games do, right? Like if my opponent plays a single card in the game, I'm pissed. But this is obviously at a much like bigger level. The implications of having this in a tournament realm and from a viewer standpoint is kind of shitty because it's like they drew Called by the Grave. I guess this match is over because my opponent can't respond depending on the context of their hand. That is where like this is kind of where it's weird. I don't know if that's a bannable offense. I feel like that's just kind of, okay, you know, this happens every once in a while. Like sometimes in Hearthstone, you draw the perfect aggro hand and like the game's over, but that doesn't happen every game. Like you kind of just move on. Obviously that's easier to say when I'm not playing for money and I'm not taking the time to prep for a tournament just to get Called by the Grave, the 1 copy in my deck. But again, that's variance, that's card games. Like you have to go in with that mindset. I don't think this is bannable. I really like, I get limiting it to 1 so you don't have that interaction as often, but I want to ban this personally. So I'm going to go with, I'm not banning it.
Well, people want this card fucking banned. But you're double right. 1, it's not banned, and 2, it's actually limited to 1 copy.
Dude, let's go.
It's funny you said what you said because even with this card being limited, so in Yu-Gi-Oh philosophy, that makes a card even more frustrating because that means you just drew the unsearchable 1 of card and just sacked your opponent, basically. Because at least if it's at 3, you can sort of account for it in deck building that your opponent is going to open with it like 40% of the time, right? Where if it's at 1, it's like you can't really account for it because it's like, oh, they drew the 1 of card? Like, awesome, great. Like, that, fantastic. Like, I just fucking lose because they drew the 1 of, you know?
That's just card games, though. That's just card games.
It is, but in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's different because, like, stopping a singular hand trap just means the game is fucking over. In a world, because there was a time where this card was at 3, like when it was first released, and, like, there does exist a world where this card is actually totally fine if the game progresses past the point of being, like, 2 turns, you know? Because then it's, like, not the end-all, be-all. But especially because of the fact, similar to Triple Tack, how this card is sort of like an anti-hand trap card, if you will. This card is so infuriating for so many different reasons that people are just really sick of it and honestly want to see it banned. Because at this point, they're like, okay, if it's limited and people are still playing it, just ban it. Like, what's the point, you know? So in the future, maybe it will get banned, but people are absolutely sick of this card.
I understand that. Again, like I said, it probably hurts much more on a tournament level than it does just playing the game like casually. I feel like there are way worse things to get rid of than something like this. You kind of want this in your game as a response to something.
It's funny because if this is like one of the best cards in Master Duel to counter Max C, you're not wrong. But again, like you said, going first already has such a huge advantage over going second more often than not. Why do they need more cards that benefit you going first?
Here's a question. A question. Have they ever considered giving the person going second like 2 more cards?
I mean, you already get 1 more card going second.
Right, but if they're at such a disparity, like Hearthstone had to solve this problem, right? Because we can't interact my opponent's turn. So what did Hearthstone do? Hearthstone said you get an extra card and you get the coin. The coin allows you to fight for tempo because you're 1 mana behind always, but at least you can coin out something to get tempo back. If Yu-Gi-Oh's biggest problem is I'm at a disparity because my opponent has such an advantage going first, giving them more resources so that Called by the Grave, if it does hit, means that they still have 2 additional cards to work with. Wouldn't that help alleviate the issue? Obviously, it's really strong in Yu-Gi-Oh! But if there's such a problem with going first, they need to help the person going second.
You want me to blow your mind? There was a point in Yu-Gi-Oh! where going second, you didn't get an extra card.
And that was probably like miserable, right? Like that was probably awful.
Yeah, if you went first, you would also draw on your first turn going first in old Yu-Gi-Oh, which is even crazier. So your opponent didn't get an extra card, and you got to still draw your first card going first. It was nuts.
Yeah,
they obviously tried to learn their lesson from that. Yeah, like the problem is one card in Yu-Gi-Oh is so just so powerful that, I mean, I'm not saying there shouldn't be a solution. I think there could be. Some people messed around with what if the player going second can mulligan, right? Because if you open your hand and you have no way to interact with your opponent going second, if the player going second could mulligan, then at least they have another shot to get something to interact with the opponent going first, right? So, like,
yeah,
that's an option, because a lot of the things sometimes you just open a hand and you have no way to interact going second, so then you just lose, right? And that's not fun. So there's a lot of different ways they could go about it. But I mean, fuck all knows if they actually would do it. So
is there a way for you to test that? Like, is there some kind of simulator for you? Like, we're playing modern Yu-Gi-Oh decks.
Sure.
But
yeah,
the person going second gets 2 additional cards.
Yeah. I mean,
like,
we have
then you can
like the simulator I taught you Edison on. Like, we could do it on there easily.
I wonder if people would be curious enough to see how a game of Yu-Gi-Oh would unfold if the person going second had a better starting position.
Maybe.
Because then all of a sudden it's like, if you're saying drawing an extra card is so good, which it is, obviously from what I can tell from playing Yu-Gi-Oh and like seeing these cards, and helping the person going second might be as easy as just giving them an additional resource.
Right.
And just seeing where the game goes from there.
Yeah, it's possible.
So
I think it's really just a consequence of just the way that the game has been designed, you know, in the more modern era. And so, yeah, maybe they need to make an adjustment, because they didn't change the rule for the player going the player going first to not draw on their first turn until 2014, I want to say. So it was like 12 years into Yu-Gi-Oh before they changed. So we're almost about at that point again. Another thing I think I've seen people throw around before is the player going second gets to draw 6 cards like in their opening hand instead of drawing 5, and then they get to draw their extra card at the start of their turn. People were like, well, what if they just get to start with 6? Because then they have the extra card to be able to have as a hand trap during the opponent's first turn. So instead of waiting to draw that first card for a turn, just have it in their hand by default. And I thought that was another interesting solution too, because then they have the 1 extra card you have to play through. So that could be that might even be better, because I feel like full mulliganing in Yu-Gi-Oh would be insane. But comments, let me know what you think.
There's definitely, like, again, if Yu-Gi-Oh's at a point where it's like you can't ban every card because clearly there's problems, like, that is a solution that may actually just resolve. Obviously, I'm speaking out of just theory, because it's going to work a lot different in practicality. But like, that is an issue. Like, that is potentially a solution. Like Hearthstone did. I showed you Prince Renathal, which added 10 cards to your deck, but you got 10 starting health. Fundamentally changed how the game was played. And that is just basically changing the way the game is played from the very beginning. Like, that could be the solution other than just banning a card. Because like, if you look at Called by the Grave, it has, this is going to sound stupid for people who hate this card with the passion. It actually has really good design for what Yu-Gi-Oh is supposed to be.
I would agree with you. There's a lot of really cool things you can do with the card. Yes.
So yeah, it feels bad to ban a card just because it's good and it's well designed.
I would see, and this is, I'm circling back to Genesis format here, because I would agree with you for not Genesis format existing. In Genesis, they took every card that's basically a Floodgate or an unfun card and essentially made it 100 points and like soft banned it, because no one's going to just play 1 copy of one of these like degenerate cards. It's not worth it. Theoretically, in a different format, they did ban all of these cards. And so that's kind of the frustrating thing. Not to mention, Yu-Gi-Oh has this sort of philosophy, and I think this probably harkens back to the anime. Anyone should be able to, like, win a game regardless of skill level. Like Timmy should be able to beat the best player in the world because, like, they can play, like, degenerate Floodgate type effects like this. I don't know, like, why that, like, is part of the philosophy, but it seems like that's present to some extent. that dynamic should exist. And so as a result of that, like, I don't know, like, who knows? Again, they don't really communicate to us why these types of effects, like, are still in the game. Some of them are because the cards are really old and they just never, like, did anything about it and they got worse over time. Other ones they keep printing and we just don't know why they keep printing them, because they probably, you know, want to sell them for money. I don't know. It's kind of frustrating. So
yeah.
Anyway, let's get back to more floodgates. Here you go.
All right. Dimensional barrier. One monster card type. For the rest of this turn, neither player can special summon monsters of the declared type. Also negate the effects of all monsters of that type while they're on the field. You can only activate this once per turn. Okay, so this is like dimension ground for a specific type, but it also affects the board. Okay, this has the same issue as dimensional ground. Wait, sorry, not dimensional ground. What was it called?
Different dimension ground. Yeah, you're right.
Dimension, yeah. This is like a better design version of that card.
This card's a lot newer. This card's from 2017.
Okay, so you could see that, like, at least they kind of iterated on that effect. I do like this one more because I think it's kind of the same philosophy as what's the card you showed me earlier? Maybe Protos. Like, if you can, obviously Protos is probably way better because it's a minion. But if you can activate this trap card at a good time and you understand what your opponent's playing, like, this is the type of effect that rewards understanding the game and like what your opponent's going for. Now, again, the problem is, like we just said earlier, like, going first is so good with this because you just completely destroy your opponent's game plan if you know what they're playing. And by this point, like you said earlier, like, you probably know what your opponent's playing towards.
Or you wait till games 2 or 3.
Yeah, and there's only so many monster types, so even if you don't know, like, you could just rip the 1 out of 6 and you might just hit it just based on what you think the metagame is.
Sure. It's similar to the attribute thing with Protos, where it's like, you're going to know there's only like 2 or 3 of these summoning mechanics in the game. So it's way less even than what it seems.
Okay, I just for clarity. So let's say my opponent uses a monster effect on their turn,
yep,
and it's not a quick effect. And then I use Dimensional Barrier. Does the monster effect still go through?
Nope.
Or does it get... So this would negate the monster effect as well.
Correct.
So you could almost bait the opponent's monster effect and then on the chain proc this so that the opponent's monster doesn't get their effect.
Yep.
But you could wait a little bit longer for this one.
Yep. You can either shotgun it or wait till they do something, then flip it. Either way.
I like the design way more than the other one. This one has like a lot more. There's at least more spice to this one. That you can
that's
kind
a
of
word
wait
for
to
it.
see. Okay. Well, I mean, obviously it's good.
And like when we're talking about ways to like access these cards, like again, like for the most part, you're either hoping to have it in your opening hand, but we also have cards like this here. I should probably show you this for context.
Triple Tactics Thrust. Your opponent has activated a monster effect during this turn. That one normal spell / trap directly from your deck. Except this. Or if your opponent controls a monster, you can add it to your hand instead. That set card cannot be activated this turn. You can only activate this once per turn. So the hope is what? You just get dimensional. Oh no, but you can't activate this turn.
Well,
you can't activate the monster. No, the one from your hand. No, you can't activate the set card. It can be activated this turn. Walk me through how you're going to use this so I fully understand what we're going for here.
So you do your play. Your opponent uses a hand trap to stop you. You thrust,
okay.
You search Dimensional Barrier, you search different dimension ground, you search whatever, set it to your field. Maybe that's all you do. They start their turn, you flip it. What are they going to do?
Oh, so you would get the card on the field before you swapped to your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
That's what I'm understanding.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry. In my mind, I was like, you're getting this on your opponent's turn, then you're flipping it. But
no.
Yeah,
this is, again, sorcery speed spell. Yeah.
So this is like a consistent way of getting this card, and therefore, like, you could preemptively stop your opponent from playing the game. So it's virtually the exact same way as Dimension Ground, except for like this time you're just picking a monster type instead of an attribute, which is like maybe even better depending on the context of what you're going up against. So it's like same conversation. Is it worth banning a card like this? Going first, it's disgusting. If ground wasn't banned, why would they ban this one over it? What is better, an attribute or a monster type? That's the real question. I guess this one also stops. So this one is worse to go up against if you're not necessarily sending something to the graveyard. Even though we know most of the decks want to, if you somehow got something on board without doing that, this is way worse to go up against because now all of a sudden you have nothing to do. Or at least with Dimension Ground, you have some kind of asterisk to get this on board or get something on board. So this is worse. I'm trying to think whether or not they would want to ban this. If I can guarantee this in my opening hand, is thrust not the problem here? Well, I guess that's the conversation of like Call by the Grave. If you just get this in your hand, it's going to feel miserable regardless. At least
Sure.
This is a trap card, but it's still pretty bad.
But hypothetically, if you get rid of all the oppressive floodgates, then thrust is fine. Maybe not fine. It might still be a very powerful card, but at least then it's not searching degenerate stuff.
See, like that's the argument of like it's good. Like from what I understand about Yu-Gi-Oh is like you want to engage with your opponent.
Sure.
So having a card that allows you to engage with your opponent and also let you find a card to engage with your opponent isn't necessarily a problematic thing. It's just like the cards have gone to a point where they're so powerful that having an effect that consistently draws something is absurd, which is like, how do you solve that problem? You can't. So I guess you ban everything that is the issue and leave thrust alone until they're only cards that you're satisfied enough and that feel fun to play against and with.
Or they all need to be banned.
Oh, they all need to be banned. That's also the solution. I don't know. That is like, it's so many. Every card you showed me here is like, yeah, this card's really good. Is it worth banning? Yeah, probably. Will they? I don't know. like just another dart.
I think that's the point that I'm trying to like convey in this video, is that it's funny how they took the liberty to ban several of these cards on this like emergency ban list. But the point I'm driving is that there's still all these other ones that are equally as bad that are still present that need to be dealt with or have yet to be dealt with.
Yeah, I mean, they probably just don't have the time and energy to go through everything.
Yeah, small indie company, right? Yeah, I agree.
They could do like, I wonder what it would be like if they just did like a huge, they just got rid of a bunch of them.
But again, slowly with the Genesis format, this is my point. They have done it. That's like the crazy part to me. And granted, like I know some people say that the new Genesis format is under like Konami America or like whatever, and the rest of the game has to go through Konami Japan. Sure, I guess, but like, so that's like the funny thing too, is that like they've technically done this, they just haven't done it for like the actual game, the advanced constructed format.
Yeah, I don't know. We had this, I feel like we had this conversation a while ago of like, you don't want to affect the format because this is what they wanted it to be from the very beginning.
Right, and maybe their philosophy is that they want these cards in the game because like I said, they want to have like the ability for some people to beat other people. Like, I don't know. We don't know what the philosophy is here.
Yeah, there's no way to really, yeah, I don't know. I back to barrier regardless. I mean, I'm just going to call it a better card than ground. I hope that you would agree with that. Obviously, I'm talking from someone who hasn't really played with the card, but it just seems better. So I'm going to go with the fact that they probably want to either eliminate or ban it, but I'll just say ban it because that's what you're asking me to do.
And you are, damn, you're good at this. You're correct. They did ban it. People have wanted barrier banned for fucking ever. It's so annoying because more often than not, it's just a turn skip. And now more than ever, there's ways to access it that it's like more searchable. Cause like at least back in the day, you had to kind of just draw it. Where now it's like we have thrust, there's transaction rollback. There's so many other ways to just get the card. That make it even more frustrating to play against. And it's typically just used, like I said, for the purpose of, I'm going first. I'm going to side in my dimensional barriers. And then if I do my whole combo and then just put dimensional barrier behind it and my opponent can't even play that. It's kind of like when you full combo and you have max C behind it, right? Your opponent's just going to lose no matter what they do. It's the same argument essentially. That's like what a lot of this boils down to. But again, I'm showing this off to just showcase why did they ban barrier and not different dimension ground? Like, why did they ban this card and not that? Like, when they all effectively do the same thing, which is not let the opponent play the game. That's like the most frustrating part about it. Let's go ahead and let's continue. Speaking of barriers, this is gonna be a little bit of a lightning round here. Give this guy a read.
Barrier Statue of Drought. Neither player can special summon monsters except Earth monsters.
You think they banned this?
That's a really interesting card. Neither player can special summon monsters except for Earth monsters. Okay, so you put this in your deck. You are playing specifically Earth monsters to, maybe you don't. Maybe you just fucking send this right at the end. This is like the same thing as barrier. You do just play this at the end. And then you just stop your, you do the same thing, but now it's just on a monster. And you're affecting 5 different types rather than 1. That is that better or worse than barrier? That's an interesting thought. How can you pull this in your hand every time? That's the real question.
Interesting.
If I'm just like, if this is like Called by the Grave and I'm just hoping that this ends up in my hand, it's probably not playable.
Give this a read.
Gallant Granite, I think that's what that says.
Yep.
What that? 2 rock, and earth. Okay, 2 level 4 monsters. You can detach 1 material from this card, then activate one of these effects. Add 1 rock monster from your deck to your hand, or special summon 1 rock monster from your hand in face down defense position. So you're picking probably the first one, unless you have a way to flip it. So you can get that pretty fast. Okay. I mean, okay, so coming down to the conversation of, is barrier, so we know barrier is the highest of all of these so far. So then is the statue worse, on par, or better? It's probably better than ground.
Different dimension ground.
The fact is that this is on a minion. So like your opponent needs to have a way to answer this. And it's not like, I would almost argue that decks are not really catered to dealing with a card like this. I don't know why. I feel like everything you show me is interacting with like an effect or like a spell, but it's not like just like, this is almost looks like a vanilla minion.
Okay.
Which is kind of funny. And if you put this down preemptively and your opponent just doesn't have a way to interact with just a monster, like how many hand traps just affect with you normal summoning something? Like what if I just play this? Then what? I wonder how bad that is. And you show me Granite. So Granite is a card that allows you to draw this. I don't know how often you really care for this. Is Thrust not just better with Barrier? It might be. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna go with they probably didn't ban this because I think Thrust into Barrier is better than the statue. Okay. But I can understand why you would run the statue.
What about this one?
Barrier Statue of the Inferno. Neither player can special summon except for fire monsters. Well, okay, like how am I? Is there a way to pull this in your hand that's better than Granite? That's the real question, I guess.
Again, this is the lightning round. You think you go with your philosophy?
I'm gonna go. I would assume no, just because I think Barrier is still the better version. But the thing is like, how much redundancy do you want in your deck to basically just know that your opponent can't play the game? If we're in a format where like I'm going second, I just concede because there's no point to play the game, then this is obviously just fine because it is redundancy. But I would go with no. I think there's bigger concerns than Inferno.
What about
also,
this one?
You haven't shown. Can you draw this card with Granite? I guess it is a rock. No, it's not a rock monster. Okay, interesting. Statue of Torrent. What the fuck? No, sure, no.
What about this one?
What is this? Fossil Dyna. I'm not even gonna say that word.
Pachycephalo.
This card is. Yeah, there was no way I was getting that. This card is flip face up. Destroy all special summon monsters on the field. Neither player can special summon monsters. Oh, so that's why you went on Granite. Oh, that's kind of spicy. Wow. Wow. So hold on. You can't. How do you walk me through how you flip something on your opponent's turn? Is it just if they attack into it?
Yeah, if they attack into it or you have a card or effect that lets you flip something.
I don't like that one as much as Barrier. I mean, I would assume with all of these are going to be no. I could be wrong, of course, but they all fit the same thing, right? You're just basically proving the point that there's so many ways of stopping your opponent from playing the game.
Yeah, what about this one?
Maybe they banned all of them. It's all or nothing, I think, at this point. Vanity's Friend. Happy special summon. Another player can special summon monsters. How do you get this on board?
You just have to tribute summon it.
On turn one?
Yep.
I guess if you special something into this.
There you go.
I mean, it's still the same thing, right? Like, I don't think they're banned. Either all of them are okay or none of them are okay. And I'm going to go with all of them are okay.
All of them are okay. Final answer.
I don't know. That's fucking, that's impossible.
Ready for this? You ready for this?
Sure. They're all banned.
Drought and Inferno are banned. Torrent is legal. Pachycephalo got banned, but Vanity's Fiend is legal.
Is there a reason why they banned half and not the other half?
There's not. I mean, so to be honest, like Patchy and Drought being searchable with Gallant Granite is obviously is one reason.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But the point being is that even whether or not they're searchable, technically Inferno is also searchable by a card that searches Pyro cards. But like, even with that being said, this may shock you. There's a barrier statue for each attribute. I just didn't show you all of them. But given that being the case, why not just ban all of them? Like they're all like used for the same degenerate purpose of not letting your opponent play the game. Ban all. There's literally a deck that doesn't really see play very often. Every now and then it pops up called Barrier Statue Stun. And the whole deck is summon a statue, put 5 traps behind it, and your opponent just can't play the game. If that's fun to you, sure, but just ban all of these cards. And you can make the argument, oh, Vanity's Fiend is like, it requires a tribute. It doesn't matter. Like, anytime any of these cards are played, it's so the opponent can't play the game. That's literally the whole purpose of why these cards, like, a lot of these are old, to be fair. Like, the barrier statues were printed in 2006. Patchy, I think, was like Patchy was also like, no, Patchy was like 2007, I want to say. And then I think Vanity's Fiend was also like 2006. So a lot of these cards are old for what it's worth. But again, if we're going to ban half of them, just ban the rest of them.
I really don't know how they do this.
I don't either.
The rock one makes sense, though. The rock one makes sense. I understand the rock one.
But again, like, why wait until the problem arises? right? Because again, so I didn't even tell you this. There's the wind barrier statue, the Stormwinds. That card's been banned for like 4 years because there was a deck that could just summon it out and then your opponent can't play the game. So that was the first one to get banned. So now they recently just banned Inferno and Drought, but there's still 3 other ones. There's the water one, which I showed you. There's the dark one, and there's the light one. So they still have 3 more of them that are legal. Not to mention there's stuff like Vanity's Fiend. There's plenty of other cards that say like don't let anyone special summon. I just don't know why we're just not getting rid of all of this now. You know what I mean? That's like the frustrating part.
I guess in their mind, it's like, does banning them really do anything right now? They just decide not to do it until it's time. It also makes me think like maybe someone from Konami played the game and they lost to that card and they're like, fuck it, I hate that card's banned.
Yeah,
like,
probably.
It does feel random.
Yeah,
it does feel random.
Exactly. Like, I understand there's reasons for the ones that they hit, but why wait until they print Buoyant Bubble Boy to search torrent, and then oh, this like someone discovers this combo with Buoyant Bubble Boy, and then like it wins a tournament and everyone's pissed that this card prevents people from playing just hit it now. Just get rid of it. Like, we know this is a problem. Anyway,
maybe it's in like good faith. They're like, oh my god, this card's now a problem. Look, we're here to save the day.
I guess.
I don't know. I don't know.
It's funny because the water was like one of the best decks recently in the game at one point. I don't think they had like a way to really like turbo into torrent or anything, but that didn't help the cause. Whatever. Anyway, we got a couple left. Let's wrap this up.
Harpy's Featherstorm. Trap card: if you control a wing beast monster until the end of this turn, negate any monster effects your opponent activates.
You can just stop there. You can just stop there. The rest does not matter.
The end of this turn, negate any monster effect your opponent activates. What is the wing beast monster you're playing, or doesn't even matter? Are you able to get the wing beast monster very easily?
Well, it's any wing beast monster. If you want a exact number, one moment. There are approximately 160 wing beast monsters in the game.
Are they all playable though, or does it? I guess it doesn't matter. Like, you're just playing it for this effect.
Sure.
It's so powerful. The end of this turn, any monster effect your opponent activates. This one's kind of just not as good as the other ones. I feel like it just serves the same role, so I don't think it's banned.
Okay.
I guess maybe in Konami's mind, it's like, this is just so easy to do that you're fine with just playing it. I mean, I would rather have like barrier almost every single time.
Sure, but I mean, you know, depending on what deck you're playing, maybe you may or may not be able to accommodate certain cards.
Yeah, I guess if it fits the mold, then yeah, sure. It's like, it's the same. It does the same thing. Like,
yeah.
you're just swapping.
You're seeing the trend.
So it's,
exactly. You're seeing the trend here.
So, like, again, this is kind of just a 50-50 based on what you're talking about earlier. I don't think it's as good as barrier there, so I don't think they banned it, but I'm okay with being wrong on this.
All right. Well, you're right. They didn't ban it, but people sure as hell want this card fucking banned. Let me tell you. Again, if you're playing any deck that's able to summon a winged beast monster, which, let me tell you, is not difficult to do, then if you have Harpy's Featherstorm, whether you searched it with Thrust, because it's a target for that, or whatever, you just set it, and then you flip it on your opponent's turn, and then they basically just lose the game because they can't use any monster effects. So then they can't special summon things. They can't do a billion different things. They're just fucked. They're just fucked. But you know what? It's still legal because for whatever reason, we don't know, it's still legal.
Do you think if they banned all these cards, do you think Yu-Gi-Oh would be in a better spot?
Yes, I do. But if they actually do it is a different question.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Because this is like the thing that people always meme about with Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like the uninteractive aspects of it. And like, yes, going first in our game, we do have like the crazy wombo combo stuff. That's fine. But at the same time, you can have the crazy wombo combo stuff, but have it be interactive. Some of the best and most beloved, like, okay, you know Tearlament, right? The best deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Ever. The thing you thought was like the most broken thing you've ever seen. People love that format because there was only like a singular card in that format that was giga oppressive and prevented you from playing the game. You were doing a bunch of combos and the turns would be very long, but everyone's playing the game. Multiple players are activating multiple effects. Like, that's what made it so fun. And so that's just one example. The best formats in Yu-Gi-Oh! Are the ones that are the most interactive, and there isn't like oppressive auto win cards that you just flip up like these. And I don't blame competitive players for going like this because they're trying to win. They're doing everything possible. So they're going to look for the next best broken, like, turn skip card that it's like, oh, if I can get this, then I win a free game, you know? I don't blame them. The cards exist. unless they take like a staunch approach that they're just going to be like, okay, like ban all of them. This is what's going to keep happening. Like I said, it's a game of whack-a-mole. This is always what's going to happen. They ban a bunch of cards. People find the next ones that are equally as oppressive, and we just keep going until eventually, hopefully, we run out.
Yeah, but then they can always make more. Then it's like,
well, no, and that's what they keep doing. That's what's even more frustrating because some of these cards are relatively new.
Oh, yeah, you're kind of just cooked. I don't know. I feel like they're never just gonna mass ban these things, right? It also doesn't feel great as a designer for them to just be like, yeah, we messed up on all of these. We're just gonna ban them. We'd rather wait until they're problematic.
Sure,
that's usually what Hearthstone does too.
I guess. Like, yeah, and maybe that's their approach. It's possible.
I do feel like just having more things for the second player to do might be more beneficial. Like, does it help the game if like the person going second has a way to respond to this rather than just outright banning it? You can make an argument if
but
like,
then
it becomes
the issue of then they need to draw the out to stop this card. Like, so the issue with this card, the issue with Dimensional Barrier, the issue with Different Dimension Ground, the issue with trap cards specifically is that there is really no good answer to negate a trap card on your very first turn if you're going second. And so you could argue, oh, they need to print something that stops that. Yeah, but then you still have to draw it, right? Whereas if we're playing more interactive games, just generally speaking, you don't have to worry about having this one particular card to stop this other particular card. It's about looking at what your opponent has in front of you, and it's like, okay, how can I navigate this based off what cards I have to actually, like, solve the puzzle and try to, like, get back in the game? You know, which is what card games are all about.
What about this card? Start a game, draw this. If you're going second, you can play this. This card can't be countered. You can negate any card.
Yeah, okay, now we're just making shit up. Anyway, let's wrap this video up. I got one more for you. You actually did surprisingly well in this video. That's the crazy part.
Thank you.
Maybe you're just degenerate at heart. I don't know what to say.
Evil Swarm Ouroboros. Ouroboros usually eat themselves, so I'm trying to figure out why this is eating itself. Doesn't look like it would. 3 level 4 monsters, 1 per turn. You can detach 1 material from this card, then activate one of these effects. Each effect can only be used once. This card is face up on the field. Once per turn, so you can only detach 1. Okay. Target 1 card your opponent controls, return it to the target to the hand. That's insane. If it is from the extra deck, does it go back to its hand or does it go to its extra deck?
Back to the extra deck.
Then 1 random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard. Target 1 card in your opponent's graveyard, banish that target. And this is not a quick effect.
Sorcery speed effect. What we call an ignition effect.
Level 3 monsters doesn't seem very difficult for this to get out.
It's not.
Once per turn. Okay, so I'm going first. I play this card. What am I doing? My opponent has yet to play. Let's say, okay, so if my opponent play Max C, I guess I can banish it. And then does Max C still go off if I banish it?
Yes, it's an effect that is already resolved. It's still...
Dude, fuck that card. What the hell?
Call by the Grave, though. Call by the Grave works.
Ooh, okay. Call by the Grave is not bad. Send 1 random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard. And you don't get to see their hand, so you're just like randomly picking one.
Yep. So you would, like, usually people just shuffle their hand and they roll a die and just like number 1 to 5 and just do it that way.
That is actually kind of fucked up. Like, even though you don't get to see your opponent's hand, you're going 1 for 1 on a card because you have to get this out, but you have something on board and they don't. And that also means that next turn you could do once per turn. This again on their side.
If it stays.
Each effect can only be used once while this card is out. Okay, so you can't use the random card again, but you can target 1 or you can target 1 of your opponent's cards in the graveyard. So that's disgusting. I mean, this card seems nuts. Like, if it's easy to go on the board, that's so good. Because you always pick send 1 random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard. I'm assuming based on the context of the game.
Okay.
Goes to your opponent's turn, which is a new turn. And then you just decide what other one you want to use when your opponent starts playing their turn.
Do you want me to blow your mind even more?
Sure. What do you got?
Do you remember what a soft once per turn is?
If I have multiple copies, I can use the same effect twice?
Yep.
Oh, no. Okay. So you're saying if I kill this and bring it back, I could use the same effect again. So you can technically send 1 random card from my opponent's hand to the graveyard multiple times in your first turn.
Uh-huh.
Is that... Okay, now, how difficult is that? Like, is that an easy thing?
It's gotten...
Okay, hold on.
It's gotten easier over time.
Is that better or is that worse than stopping my opponent from playing the game?
Imagine you're just doing all of it. Imagine you summon Ouroboros, rip a card out of your opponent's hand, resummon Ouroboros, rip another card out of your opponent's hand, set Dimensional Barrier behind it, set different Dimension Ground behind it, summon Protos so that they can't special summon Barrier Statue of the Torrent so they can't special summon. I'm just throwing this out there.
I feel like this is so unnecessary.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Rocks, doesn't it?
No. No. Sometimes I do Magic videos of CGB and I say, man, I want to go play some Magic. I don't know if I've ever felt that doing one of your videos.
I do not think in the year plus we've done these videos, you've ever even thought to think that.
Like there's definitely a part that always says like, no, it's okay. Like you don't need to play this game.
If anything, I'm saving you.
I feel like this card is kind of just over the top. Yeah, you could use all of it, but like you don't really need to. I guess because this is a monster, this is actually really good. It's probably really easy to get this out. I don't know how easy it is to just keep resummoning it over and over again, but one random card your opponent controls is so evil. I mean, fuck it, it's banned. Whatever, that sounds miserable. But like they don't even get to play the game.
It's evil in the name.
Yeah, they don't even get to play the game, so sure, it's banned.
I think this might be your best video yet. You're right. This was also on the ban list.
God damn, man. Holy.
You're just really toxic at heart, aren't you? So for context,
toxic at heart.
It's become incredibly easy to not only summon Ouroboros, but then also get rid of it and then resummon it. The most difficult part here is attaching a material back onto it, because when you resummon it from the graveyard, it doesn't have a material underneath it. The materials all go away. But that's really easy to remedy now, thanks to new cards and the way that they're designed. People historically have used Ouroboros where they just summon multiple Ouroboros and just rip their opponent's hand that way. That's always been around, but it's kind of been like very Disneyland if it ever worked or not. Now it's just gotten to the point where it's like way too consistent that like a singular like 1 or 2 card combo can basically rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand and set up a bunch of other stuff that they have to play through. So they're not winning that game, unsurprisingly. Not to mention that if they use a hand trap and you play through it anyway, then they just wasted another card. So it's, yeah, Ouroboros was kind of a ticking time bomb. People were like wondering if this card was ever going to get banned historically, and now it is gone. 07, fuck you, good riddance.
Okay.
So yeah,
is that the end?
That's the end. That's the end. So now you're seeing the dilemma that Yu-Gi-Oh is faced with. I don't want to say this is necessarily a new issue, but it's more so the issue's coming to a head, right? We're constantly seeing like these types of effects and cards at the highest tiers of competitive play, and that then Yu-Gi-Oh kind of unfortunately brandishes its infamous title of being like the game that's over on the first turn, right? And so it sucks because like Yu-Gi-Oh can be a very beautiful and elegant game under the right circumstances. It's just unfortunate that it's bogged down by all this bullshit that just keeps getting worse and worse, unfortunately.
I'm sorry for your loss. Actually,
are you? I don't think you are.
You could just play a different game. I don't know.
That would be the actual solution, but unfortunately we have the brain worm that we like Yu-Gi-Oh, so we're stuck with it. It is what it is.
Abusive relationship.
It actually is, for real. There's no other explanation. So guys, that's going to wrap it up for another video. I really hope you all enjoyed. Let's go ahead and shout the patrons for all their continued support. So shoutouts to Shadow1317, Tim00x3, MBT Play Medolce, Moto, Cameron L. Smith, The Synchro Guy, Pony Stark, Daniel Howell, Little Fadeleaf, Dan the Man Hoban, Draconic, Brian Dancer of Class 7, JW11860, Flannel Daddy, literally all of the guinea pigs, MBT canceled by community soon, canceled by community soon, canceled by players soon, MBT and Nimnims 1, Boxer Brief, Field Knight of Passion, The Nova129, Chris Adams, Pink Frappe, and Blazing Soul. Thank you all so much again for watching, and we will see you next time.